Water, water, we praise you, O God, for water. The rain that nourishes animals and plants, the water for drinking and bathing. We praise you, O God, for water. We praise you, O God, for our water stories, a flood that cleansed the earth, the sea that drowned the enemy, a river that healed leprosy. We praise you, O God, for water. The baptismal liturgy proclaims the central place of water, a force as ancient as creation itself. Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. Water, the cleansing, nourishing, sustaining force of life. Water, the tangible sign of God's might and power to save and to heal. Water, at the beginning of the prophet's message of hope and restoration for the exiles of ancient Israel returning to their homelands after quite a long time living in a foreign and unfamiliar land. This wasn't exactly the brightest or most prosperous time in their history. For those who were struggling to rebuild infrastructure and livelihoods, images of water and bread and wine and milk and rich food without money and without price must have sounded absurd and enticing. And more, these concrete images of free water and bread and wine and milk give way to the powerful reminder of God's everlasting covenant, the steadfast, sure love of God for God's people, even in the midst of foreign occupation, a return to their homeland, to economic devastation. In the midst of uncertainty, God's promise is certain. Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. Everyone who is tired and weary, come to the waters. Everyone who is worn out and burnt out, come to the waters. Everyone who is uncertain and afraid for what the future holds, come to the waters. Come to the waters and be renewed. I admit that when I chose our Lenten theme this year, Life Renewed, I shamelessly stole it in its entirety from the title of our seasonal devotional. I also admit that my own copy of that devotional has been collecting dust on my coffee table at home since Ash Wednesday. The promise of life renewed, it seems, is a lot easier said than experienced. For an ancient people returning from exile who had lost everything and were starting from scratch. For our contemporary people who are bogged down by the busyness of daily life and overwhelmed by the state of everything in the world around us. Amid so much worry, it's hard to make time for rest and renewal, to unclench and let down our guard, to come to the waters and be renewed. It occurs to me that for most of my adult life, I've always lived by water. From the shores of Lake Michigan in Chicago and Milwaukee, to the Missouri River in Omaha, to the Hudson River in upstate New York. Whether it's been a walk across the Bob Carey pedestrian bridge over the Missouri into Iowa, or along the lakefront trail on Chicago's south side to Promontory Point, or what has now become, apparently, my annual vacation pilgrimage for the past 3 years to the Coney Island Boardwalk on the shores of the Atlantic for my yearly Brooklyn Cyclones game and far too overpriced frozen margarita. For me, there is renewal, though, in moments like those. Moments when we allow ourselves to just be. Can you hear Isaiah's call Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. Everyone who is tired and weary, come to the waters. Everyone who is worn out and burnt out, come to the waters. Everyone who is uncertain and afraid for what the future holds, come to the waters. Come to the waters and be renewed. Come to the waters and remember God's promise, God's everlasting covenants, God's steadfast, sure love. Can you hear Isaiah's call? The promise of life renewed is for you. Too often I think we think of Lent as a time of depriving ourselves, giving up, fasting, and to be sure those are worthy spiritual disciplines. But that's not all Lent is, and those practices are never for their own sake. Lent is a season of life renewed, a time to remember God's mercy and reconciling, extravagant, healing grace. Our bodies, as well as our spirits, long for this renewal. We need this renewal, those moments as by refreshing waters, to be good to ourselves and to be better to each other and to the world. We can start at this table with this rich food of bread and wine. In this gathering, together in the renewing presence of the body of Christ, around this font and the renewing waters of baptism that beckon us to remember God's fierce and tender love for each one of us. Water, water, we praise you, O God, for water. For through this water, you have birthed us into the family of Christ, bathed us in forgiveness, and enlivened us in the Spirit. Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. Come to the waters and be renewed here.